guys, look who we've got with us. The man, the myth, the legend.
The myth.
Mr. Logan Jason, Mr. Decode Your Reality himself. Welcome back, brother. How are you, my friend?
Oh, great, man. Great to be here with you two fine gentlemen. I thank you for having me on.
The pleasure is all ours.
All ours,
So, lots been happening since our last one. I think was number 88. This one will be number 97, I think. So, yeah, but been following your stuff. Your really, really long. What's your question? Getting more and more popular, bro. I see more and more people are coming into that. Into that room. Yeah.
A big shout out to Jordan at Waters Above Crypto, because he's a lot of his subscribers are coming over to my channel, and then I'm mentioning you guys, and now they're dumping over into you guys. So it's just a nice little circle jerk,
I totally agree. I mean, I know nothing about crypto, nothing at all, right? So. But I do listen to Jordan. He puts out some awesome information.
He does.
I did a podcast a couple of days ago with Paul from What the Flock. That was pretty good. We just sat and chatted for an hour. Turned out to be an hour and 19 minutes. You know what I mean? The 911.
It isn't so, man.
11. It's all over the place. So what I'd like to get into on this one, Logan, is I know many of our subscribers are familiar with your work, but can you just give us your breakdown or your opinion, your feelings on the we are food, basically?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, I mean, as I studied this decoding world and breaking down the massive amount of countless hours of research, I came to the same conclusions that the Greeks have offered up on the world stage, which is we're being used for food, and the Greeks would call it ambrosia. And from what I've deep dived down into is that it's not just like physical food where we're actually being cannibalized, but it's the energetic exchange of energy, the true aspects of alchemy, which is lead to gold. And we as human beings are in 1000% emphatically lead, and the gold is the sun. And that's what's kind of using us for its energy source. And without the players, there's no game. We are the little cells in the battery. The battery is operated by the Ark of the Covenant, which is the sun and moon. And the earth is the containment of everything, which is the human being experience, the animals, insects, the biology world, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I've heard you say not only do people need God, but God needs people.
That's right, baby.
Yeah. What I also find interesting is if you looked at the podcast that Harry and I have done about the God being essentially what we refer to as our higher self, and we are the dog, and you take a dog for a walk on a lead, L-E-A-D, which is spelt the same as lead, as in the metal lead. So again, just another connection. It's crazy. We are batteries, as you say. Even in the Matrix, I think I forget who it was that one of the girls called Neo Coppertop, with the Duracell battery. She calls him Coppertop. Which is pretty pretty weird, but there you go. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to add to that. The reason why Neo got his name from the movie The Matrix, Keanu Charles Reeves, is because when you do his alchemology, which is taking alchemy, tying it into numerology, his full name, Keanu Charles Reeves, equals 143, which is the atomic weight of neodymium, the 60th element on the periodic table. And of course, that has Neo in it. So there's no accidents with that. And obviously, he's the one. Neo is the one spelled backwards. So there's kind of where that came from. But neodymium is used to make magnetics. And it is also the addition of the latitude, longitude of the Great Pyramid of Giza, 29 degrees north and 31 degrees east. 29 plus 31 is 60. And we know that the words feed the wolf is 60. So That's exactly. I mean, Neo, Mr. Smith. It doesn't matter. It's the red pill, blue pill. You're going to choose one. It's the good cop, bad cop. I think that's the food. It's like when you play the game, you're gonna be like, oh, I want to be Yoda instead of Darth Vader this time around. But it doesn't matter which character you actually pick, because it's still going to be energetic food for whatever's using this reality to keep it alive. Which is just with two things: magnetism and electricity. That's it. Yep. Magnetic and electric is 26 and 26, which is 52, which is prison planet.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not always, so it's not important if it's positive or negative, but it's the differential between the two that creates the energy.
Bingo.
Yeah, and of course there are 52 letters in the alphabet if you consider lowercase and uppercase.
Yep, another bingo. Yep.
And of course it's all co-enki dink, isn't it? Co-enki, enki enlil, co-enki dink. Yep. Yeah, all of this, and like when you've done the breakdown of these the movie characters and how the Mr. Smith and the Neo characters, how they come together with their cards and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just impossible. Yeah. As you always say, do you really think that these guys actually sat down with the movie makers and kind of, well, we want this guy and that? They wouldn't have time to make the bloody movie. Wow.
It's hard. I mean, I lived in LA for a long time. I've been on the sets, I've been with producers, I've been with people that do castings. I know what goes into this kind of stuff. And obviously some of these people probably have the knowledge of consciously doing things and putting out symbols. Well, that's obvious. But when you start to really pay attention to the complete backgrounds and the stuff that is not in the set per se, it's just they decided to take this street and shoot this house, and you see other things in there that you can decode and make the connections. You then have to make the decision, when do we kind of draw the line and realize that we're not in control of this reality? You can become conscious of it, which a lot of us are doing as decoders, but at what point do you really just have to draw that line to make that determination and just let go, as I've said, and enjoy the ride? Because that's the only thing that matters. Because it's just, you'll go crazy. You'll become absolutely insane and crazy. I think so.
I totally agree. All right. Well, look, I've got a PowerPoint presentation that I've made, and I'd like to run through that with everyone, because what Logan talks about all the time, guys, a lot on his channel, is how we are food, how we are eaten, basically. How our loosh is harvested. But I'm going to take this to another level. Now, I've got to be a little bit careful due to this particular platform for Logan's benefit and for our benefit. So I've kind of dumbed it down a little bit, so let's see what you guys think. The most expensive food in the world. Now, I've put this up. This is a quote allegedly from John D, who does not understand should either learn or be silent. So think about that before you comment. You've probably never heard of this, Axung hominis or eominis, but a quick search will actually show you what it is. I'm not going to go into it. You can do that yourself, but you can see that that is from Wikipedia. Just type in Axung hominis, and that's what you'll get. Now, a lot of this research has come from stolen history. This particular, I'll put the link below, and you can look at some of this for yourself. But I want you to pay particular attention to number 10. Okay, number 2 is quite important. Number 1 is very important, but for purposes of this presentation, we are focusing on number 10. Now, until recently in the UK, you would carry this card. So if you were involved in an accident or something and you got killed or you died, then they would know that it's okay to use your bits. But last year they changed it. As you can read here, all adults in England are now considered to have agreed to be a donor, unless they have recorded a decision otherwise. In other words, you've got to opt out. And when did that change? The 22nd of May last year, Now, we know from our previous studies that May is actually the 3rd month. So that gives us a connection to this. A couple of months ago, I was teaching a 7-year-old girl online, Chinese girl, and her regular teacher, who's Chinese, was traveling. So she said, "Nigel, can you sort this class out?" But she couldn't send me the lesson plan because she was traveling. So I jumped onto YouTube, and I found like a 1-hour video that encompassed several of these stories. And guys, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away about how much in these stories is talking about essentially witches and that eating kids. It's absolutely insane. And my question is, why are so many kids? You just jump online and type in "why are kids scared of Santa" and go to images, and you'll get loads of them. Is there a connection? Possibly. Psalm 106, they served their idols and were ensnared by them. They sacrificed to demons their own sons and daughters. It's right here in the Bible, shedding innocent blood, the blood of their own sons and daughters. You can read that for yourselves. And, you know, when society was burning witches and hanging people and torturing non-believers, we had no video games to blame it on. What we had was unwavering loyalty to the Bible. So I don't think we've got any Christians on our channels, guys, but this is yeah, you can see what it is. And that's what it means. That's what it means according to Webster's dictionary from 1954. Look at the pattern on the table. Look at the pattern. You can type in what I typed in at the top of this slide and online, any search engine, and you will find all of them. So we're going to talk about this picture plus ink. I'm not going to say the word for obvious reasons, but this blew me away. This is from Diane Marshall. The cry of the children being, while these guys sit in silence. Yeah, they've sat back and kept mostly silent on this issue. Well, this is from UNICEF. I mean, words fail me. Under the 1997 Act, agencies are granted between $4,000 and $6,000 for everyone that is removed from their home and placed with a stranger. Why would you do that?
What a kickback for these agents, huh? What a kickback.
Yeah. Why would you do that? Well, these are the guys, or this is what's behind it all and always has been. Now I'm starting this in. Logan laughed when I showed him this earlier. It's something he's working on. Number 5, and to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when it striketh a man. Think of what's going on now. And those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Was the scorpion hitting them in the left shoulder?
Quite possibly, yeah. So we're going to have a look at some church words, guys. Now, some of this on first viewing, first listening, might sound a little bit out there, but stay with me on this. The word pastor is an interesting word. It means to lead to pasture. They tell us it comes from pasture, set to grazing, course to eat, but it comes from pie root. Now, Logan's, your surname's Pyatt, Logan, right?
See, yep.
Yeah, and Logan does a lot of work on Pi and how Pi runs this is the computer program that runs this realm. But this is PIE, and it comes from the root pa, P-A, to feed, tend, guard, and protect. So pastor, pie, pious, we eat, or to eat humble pie. Pie, pasty, pastry, pastor. I don't think that's stretching it at all. Pi, P-I, 3.14, which is this one's Logan's baby, basically.
Yeah, that's it right there, the I and the T.
Yeah, yeah. So we all know what a cherub is, but let's have a look at what these words actually mean. Chair, char. Char means to grill, means grill, braised, or barbecued. Oh, come on, Nigel, really? Char grilled. Think about it. And rub, Reuben. And Reuben means firstborn or newborn. But what do we put on our meat before we barbecue it? Oh, nothing to see here. This is from Wiki. Reuben, or Reuben as it's pronounced in Hebrew, was the name of the oldest of Jacob's 12 sons. The oldest is the firstborn. Reuben means firstborn. Cherubim, and that is what it actually means. Oh no, you can't spell it that way. Well, look, you know what, guys? You know I teach English in China. If I wrote choir on the blackboard and asked the kids how to pronounce it, what would they say? Choya. Choir, right? So cherubim, and that is what it means. Cherubim. And that leads us back to the podcast that Harry and I did last on our last one, which is cardia. Cardia, cardiac. And Cardia, if you haven't seen it, was the goddess of the hinge. Think about it, Logan, why would hinges need a goddess? It just doesn't make sense. But what has hinges? Doors and gates. Gates have hinges, don't they? Well, this is the important part. Greedy winged creatures ready to fly in and suck the blood from sleeping infants. So young they are still taking breast milk. And look what I found. Merriam-Webster. Look at this. You can't make this. Oh God, I shouldn't say that. People complain in the comments. I say that too much. Yeah. But look at it. Look at this. They're connecting a pig to a human. And it is said that this term is used with regards to people over the age of 11 because apparently it gets a little bit tough. Yeah, we're all familiar with fee, fi, fo, fum. We spoke about this at length. In Greek, the letter CH is X. Harry confirmed this. For those who don't know, Harry is Greek. So X, you are double crossed. Scottish word is kirk or cark, chark, and of course that's the root word of charcoal. And from that we get the French word charcuterie. What is charcuterie? It's a French term for a branch of cooking devoted to prepared meat products such as bacon, ham, sausages, etc. Charcuterie contains the words arc or arch and cute right in the middle. Cute. That is a charcuterie. So we just assume that is pork. How do we know? The arch, here the arc or the arch connects back to the church, archbishop, and also a curator. Now, from the early 15th century in reference to those put in charge of minors. Curator, cure. Well, we cure a disease, but we also cure a ham. We cure meat to preserve it. We use salt to preserve it. Preserve, does that mean pre-serve? To keep before serving. If you think that's a long stretch, then if you're feeling a little stressed, what kind of food might you eat? Sweet food, perhaps? The word stressed in reverse is desserts. Okay, so Matthew 5:13, you are the salt of the earth. Salt connection again. Well, this first word, I'll show you what it means in a minute. But as you can see, it's got the sex and the sax. And we've talked at length on this channel about how this physical realm is all based on sex. Check out the podcast 6 and the sit eye. That is the thumbnail. You can't miss it on the channel. And that is Greek for what, Harry?
666.
There you go. Okay, so just throw in a couple more church words just for a bit of fun. Missionary, a church missionary, which just happens to be the name of the most normal position. And of course, seminary, a church or a college where people go to study how to become a priest, a seminary. So back to the Seacs, the Saxons. They say that this is from Wiki. They're a Germanic tribe, rah, rah, rah. Their name is derived from the Seacs. I mean, how would you pronounce that? Sikhs, each, I don't know, Sikhs. A distinct knife popularly used by the tribe. A knife used for what? Why is that the most famous salt known about all over the world? Could the Saxons have been salt harvesters or miners? It's interesting that the word miner and minor as an underage person are phonetically identical. So we use salt for curing ham. If a ham has got a bone in it, it's called a hock. And if we are in debt, we are in hock. But let's get back to the ham. Dozens of UK cities. I'm not going to read them all, but they all end in ham. We have Southampton. And what is the most famous ham? Buckingham Palace. Then we have a rector. A rector is connected to parish and pastoral. But rector, look at the word rector, no clues needed. Again, from Wiki, natural sausage casings are made from the submucosa of the intestines. The end of your intestine is where? Move back to the word parish or perish, which means to suffer spiritual death or be shipwrecked at sea. It means to go through, literally to go through. Or go through what? Parish is Paris plus H. H is the 8th letter, which is the reincarnation. And Paris is famous for all of these. And when you do a quick search, of course, they have to quote this number, don't they? And a flood of corpses. I can't find anything online. If anybody can help me out here in the comments, please do. But I've heard many, many people say that the bones in the catacombs look like they have been boiled or cooked. And a monk, church connection again. There's a friar. I wonder what is frying. You go to communion, you take the Eucharist, which kind of sounds a little bit like you are Christ. And it all involves around eating flesh, drinking blood of Jesus. Jesus is us. You are pray. You go to church and pray because you are pray. Which brings us back to Pastor and how we're being mocked. Pastor reminds me of this guy, Louis Pasteur. Pasteurize or past your eyes, because we don't have the eyes to see.
Can I add something? Can I add something to
Yeah.
Pastor? Well,
Yeah,
I mentioned this offline, but a Spanish dish called al pastor is a Mexican dish, and it denotes using pork, and it's seasoned with chili peppers, pineapple, and other citrus foods, and it's roasted on a vertical spit, kind of like a crucified piece of meat.
Yeah,
vertical.
Nothing to see here. It's interesting. It's all been wiped, but I have found reference to a certain politician in the UK who last year referred to the UK population as stock. And it's interesting that when we look at the word stock, we get, I'm reminded of OXO, stock cubes. I mean, you know, Harry and I and Logan, we've all talked at length about this realm being based on a cube. So stock cubes. And of course, OXO is 666 because O is the 15th letter and X is the 24th. So stock cubes. And what is not eaten when you eat an animal? These two things are not eaten. Yeah, you can read this for yourself. That's a lot. That's more than 1,000 a day. It's
probably higher than that, but
it probably is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a link to this. I'll send it to you, Luke. Satanic child sacrifice. Who's behind it all? This is an hour and 14 minutes. I'll put the link below. It's probably one of the best documentaries I have ever seen on this. That is the link, but I'll post it below. But we're not, we're programmed. We're programmed with words such as these. If you don't want that, you must be. Logan, do you what food do you not like?
Well, I don't like cooked onions. I don't mind them raw.
Okay,
but
so
I don't like them cooked.
So you are anti-cooked onions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are what about you, Harry? Oh, I don't like rice. You're anti-rice, you are. You're anti-noodles.
I don't like lobster.
I mean?
I don't like lobster. How about that? Lobster.
You're anti-lobster. How dare you? You're anti-lobster. We are rolling into 2022, and if we reverse 2022, we get 2220. Deuteronomy. If a woman is not a virgin on her wedding night, she is to be taken to the entrance of her father's house, where the men of the city are to stone her to death. There you go, girls.
Very nice presentation.
Yeah. And a big thank you to our friend Lovegood, who emailed this through to me after she after I showed her some of this stuff, and she went through it on in gematria, and these are the numbers that she came up with. Now, Logan, there's been a lot of talk. I'm going to leave this on the screen for a minute. There's been a lot of talk lately about this 111 and how if you look at the contraction of I will becomes I'll, the 111. Back in 2001, we had buildings 1, 2, and 7. There were three buildings. What do you see, bro, as being the importance of 111?
Well, it's definitely directly related to the sun. The magic square of the sun is 6 rows of 111, and the magic square of the sun is the numbers 1 through 36. All, of course, spread out over that magic square of the sun in that cube. Each row, when you add them up, is the 111. So that's the referencing point. 111, when you spell it out, it's the 000, which is 15, 30, and 45. And 45, anytime you see the 45, it's Pandora's box. Pandora's box is the cube, which is, this cube that we all live in, the square cube. And that is the rhodium cube, which is the 45th element. And it has an atomic weight of the 102, which is the mirror of the 201. It's a permutation of that. So that's, that's the sun coming down and becoming man and sticking itself inside the prism or prison. And it's called the cube. So these shapes, the cube, the circle, the triangle, all of these polygonal shapes, you can get into the octagonal shapes, the nonagonal shapes. All of these all these sacred geometry shapes have their say in this reality as well. So the 111 is just a segment of these other branches that they're going to be tied to, for sure.
Do you think the 111 could be related to Sun, Moon, Earth? The three.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different branches. But you guys know how I roll. I want to know 1 + 1 = 2. That's the kind of guy. That's how I roll. So of course, 1 + 1 is going to equal many things when you just go really far down the hole, So when you get way down the hole, you have the source, and then it just throws everything out. And when you get way down the hole, you're going to get other variations that will eventually lead to the same source, but it's just really far away. So I'm more interested in getting to the real true essence of what the source is, which to me at this point now clearly is the sun, the moon that rules above the head, and the ecliptic and the sun going around the 12 zodiac signs or the 12 apostles.
Very interesting that you make that remark, because the biggest pain in my ass is my buddy Mike from Sherlock's Apprentice. Now, you know how you always pretty much open your videos by talking about these are my truths, right? And when I spoke to Mike about that, he always says to me, Nigel, I'm not interested in my truth or your truth. I'm only interested in the truth. Now, what would you say to people like Mike that are, you know, I mean, I've said to him, there are multiple truths. You know what I mean? But you've just made that comment there that I'm searching for the truth. I want the truth. Whereas we both know that we have our own truths. But you just reminded me of my mate Mike when you said that. So, what would you say to someone who says, I don't care about your truth or my truth or Harry's truth. I want the truth.
Well, I think it's kind of nonsensical, because your truth, like when he says, I'm interested in the truth is going to end up becoming my truth, because that's what you end up believing in. It's your truth. So it's just your truth versus my truth, which will lead to the truth, right? Everything comes from the truth. So I just look at it as a tree, and the start of the tree is let's just say the oak tree is the acorn. Right. The mighty oak is starting from the acorn. So the source is the acorn. Everything emanates from the acorn. But the tree that comes out of the soil turns into the great oak tree is still part of the acorn. It's just when you get up to the branches and it becomes 100, 200, 300, whatever year old tree, it's still part of the acorn, but it's just so far down the line that it's all that whisper down the lane. And, like I've mentioned many times, there used to be just one religion. Why are there over 10,000 now? What happened to the first one? What was wrong with the first one? Well, I mean,
you have the Bible, the biblical quote, where the biblical God says, "I am your God, right? I'm a jealous God. You shall have no other God but me. I am your God." Does that mean there are other gods? Does that mean there are other truths? When it comes to the truth, I think it's a little bit more convoluted or complicated than, hey, Logan, did you sleep with my wife or not? Well, yeah, and my wife, did you sleep with Logan or not? It's a yes or no. So yes or no, either way, it's either true or it's not true. But I think that when it comes to the kind of truth that we guys like us are looking for, it's so convoluted and it's so deeply buried within all the deceptions and lies and so on and so forth, that even if we find the truth, Logan, are we going to know it's the truth? How are we going to know it's the truth?
Yeah. Well,
it's only going to be our truth. It's only going to be our truth.
That's why you got to make the truth. Yeah, that's why I preach. I suggest making the truth your own, because even if when you come to the truth and you think this is the truth, it's still just your opinion.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
If we're in a simulation, let's look at it from like a programmer's point of view. A supercomputer can only compute even the most powerful, only a limited amount. All right, let's say it's the most. And so we'll call it God almost. So if that computer is allocating energy or data to what you view as the player of the game, and it's not allocating it to something that it doesn't see, what if we are only watching what we see and that's our truth? What we don't see isn't true. So let's say I don't see my car right now. Who says that it's in the garage? Maybe it's not. If this is a simulation, that computer is going to save energy and bytes, right? And allocate it where it wants it to be the most strong delusion for the players that are playing. So yeah, when my reality is active, yours is different. So that tree that falls in the forest that we didn't see, the computer is not going to allocate data to make that sound.
I think that kind of connects into, I would imagine both of you are familiar with the double slit experiment, right?
Yeah, of course, exactly. Love that.
Yeah. So maybe the car is only in the garage when you go to the garage. Now, there is a movie called The Mandela Effect, and I want to touch on that in a minute, Logan, because for a good reason. There's a movie called The Mandela Effect, and in that movie, I can't remember the guy's name, but do you remember that that professor who was the first guy to say that he had found that we are living in a computer simulation? He'd found the code. Well, he's in this movie, and he just happens to have a quantum computer. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, it's well worth watching. But one of the reasons I mentioned that is we over on your channel, we had a subscriber called Overprotected 1111.
Yeah, I know who
Bella, and she contacted me, and we got together on Zoom, and we had a chat for a couple of hours, and she's highly Mandela affected. And she said to me, Nigel, I get so what's the word, frustrated, because Logan very, very seldom even mentions the Mandela effect. Well, I'm highly Mandela affected. It's basically what caused my initial awakening. So what are your thoughts? She actually said, will you ask Logan what he thinks about the Mandela effect? So this is for you, Bella. What do you think, bro?
Well, I mean, I'm not highly affected by it, which is why I don't really talk about it that much. So there's my answer for that. So, but some people are suffering from this and they want to be taught, they want to have that talked about. Some people are finding this, they want to talk about this. So it's just a matter of like, I'm living my own life, you're living yours, and that's just the way it is. But the Mandela effect is going to affect all of us differently, I believe, anyway. The biggest one for me, the biggest takeaway for the Mandela effect was Risky Business, Tom Cruise, the scene when he slides into the living room, Bob Seger, old time rock and roll. I know for sure that he was wearing the Ray-Bans and now he's not. So that was the biggest one for me. I can just scratch everyone else out of the equation. That one was the one that did it for me. And of course, then it's all theoretical at this point, like what's going on here. Personally, I think it's CERN digging into the quantum with the Large Hadron Collider. That is tied to the Vatican. The amount of energy that goes to the Vatican is probably the internet is founded in Geneva, Switzerland, where CERN is. So, all the energy that we're doing right now is going to CERN. They're getting that energy. What are they doing with that energy? The 5D reality talked about in the Law of One material, which is where the breakdown of this dimension will start to happen. That is also perhaps playing out its role. Again, this is all theoretical, that's going on right now. And the 3D is the empire, and it's essentially is an archetype. It's collapsing. And if there is a 5D coming in, well, then you're going to have this merge. You also have the two sun scenarios, the return of Ra, the blue Kachina, and the Hopi prophecies, which is where the moon is starting to cartwheel, as some people say. The moon is spinning. That's not natural. Well, because there's a big magnet coming towards Earth, which of course there's going to be the talks about the suns colliding. I personally think the sun's on a timer and it's going to go out, and you're going to have a sun replace that sun. Okay. And then you're going to have that sun come down into the quantum realm. I think that's where the devil is going to be going into the abyss. That's personally what I think with that. So there's just so many things on the world stage right now that are taking place. It's really hard to address the concerns or the ideas or the topics people are wanting me to decode, you guys to decode, the Mandela effect. But again, it's just like, what relevance does that have for you and I? It doesn't affect my life. It's like I've been telling people, no president has ever affected my life since I was born in 1973. There's not been one that has literally impacted my life, good or bad. Okay. So I could care less who's in the office. I don't care. Right. So the Mandela effect doesn't affect my life, so I'm not addressing it that much. I've had a few people to ask me about it. You should be decoding. It's the biggest thing since sliced bread, but it's okay.
All right. Well, let me tell you my thoughts. I've got an itchy nose. People have accused, you're scratching, you're touching your nose, you're scratching your nose, which means you're lying. Yeah, right. Okay. I've got an itch. Okay. When you say when
my nose is big, and maybe I'm a liar too.
Oh yeah, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio, you. Are you wooden, Harry? Harry, you got any wood parts inside of you?
No, I'm not.
Is your father named Giuseppe?
No, George.
George. Why he starts with letter G? That's funny. Okay.
I mean, first of all, I mean, not contradicting, but you say you're not Mandela affected, but you are, because you remember The sunglasses, right? So
well, I mean, saying it doesn't affect my life in a net. It doesn't like make my life change is what I meant to say.
Right. Well, I mean, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of different Mandela effects. I think the obvious one for most is the Monopoly Man's monocle, which, in my opinion, is that the hidden message there is open your eyes and see. The same with Hello Clarice is missing from the Silence of the Lambs.
Well, let me just say one thing that just came to my mind. The what I don't even know what that thing's called. What's the actual name of the
Monocle?
The monocle. Okay, so is it possible that because that's representing the one sun in the sky, so is that possible it comes off and now you have the two suns coming into this realm and perhaps sharing some space for a while? I don't know. Just kind of came at time.
Are you familiar with a YouTube channel called just goes by his name Claudio Silvaggi? Are you familiar with Claudio? Okay. We did we had him on the channel months ago. And he's into astrology, both the sidereal and I know nothing about astrology, but it's interesting that he's talking about exactly the same thing that you are, that we're getting a new sun.
For sure.
So clearly you're not on your own when you talk about that. Claudio talks about that a lot. We should get him back, Harry. We should
didn't he say 2024?
Yeah, I think so. 23, I think.
23, yeah.
But basically, yeah, he agrees, or he's along the same lines as you, Logan, that we're gonna get a new sun. But with regard to the Mandela effect, I think there's so many of them. And my personal opinion is that it's some kind of a wake-up call. It certainly was in my own personal life when I look back at the Mandela effect and why it's a Mandela effect. Where does it stem from? Well, it stems from when I was 11 years old. And so you've got that 11 connection again. And I mean, I'll tell you, I'll happily tell you what it was. It was the VW logo, right? When I started secondary school in the UK, aged 11, the guy that I sat next to in class for 5 years, his name was Nigel. His surname began with a V. Mine's Worsley, begins with a W. So you'll remember we're kids, right? So for years, when we left school, we were going to take over the world. We were going to have our own company, and we adopted the VW logo. And it was everywhere, bro. We were spraying it on the back of the bike sheds, and it was on all of our workbooks and exercise books, and we'd have art lessons, and we would see who could come up with the prettiest VW, and then suddenly there's a gap. There's always been a gap. No way, not in my reality. So it highly affected me. And I know I've got a friend in Australia, and the road that he grew up on has now lost an O. It used to be a double O, like Toowoomba or whatever it is, and now it's Toowoomba or whatever. And I know many people that have been affected, and I personally think that it's some kind of a wake-up call to let us know that this realm is not what you think it is. You know what I mean? That's
I just think that we're changing of the guards, and the changing of the guards, there's going to be some static that's involved, and the timelines have changed, and there's a lot of information coming in to overturn or rip down the empire, so to speak. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing this Mandela effect coming into play. I mean, there's obviously a lot of moving parts to this, I think. And again, as I mentioned, I go right back to CERN digging into the quantum realm, and then the sun, I think is on a timer. And I think that the biblical sense is where the sun is gold, and the gold is going to move into the quantum realm, which is where you're going to get cryptocurrency and the involvement of that, where money will move into that. And you'll have a sun that gets replaced with that. We have the days of darkness and all that kind of stuff. But that's what I think the Mandela effect is really all about, is just the changing of the guards. That's pretty much the most simplistic explanation I can give to anybody, on my opinion. It's just the changing of the guards. That's
and it's funny you mentioned the word timer. With timer, like you said, the one sun is going to extinguish, the other one's going to replace it. But the word timer is the anagram for that is remit, and a remit is when you pay a bill, you send in a copy of whatever the receipt is, and you remit your payment. It's time. It's the replacement. It's the pay the debt.
Yeah. Well, the reverse of time is emit, isn't it?
Yep.
Emit. Yeah.
Yep.
I think, when I first started looking into the Mandela effect, when I had my revelation back in early 2017, I got the impression that CERN wanted to be blamed for it. They're happy that people are saying, oh, we think it's CERN. I don't think it is CERN. I don't think it's got anything to do with CERN. That doesn't mean I can come up with another fucking itchy nose again. Doesn't mean that I can come up with another explanation as to who might be responsible. But I think it's bigger than Ben-Hur. I think it's bigger than all of us, and I think CERN are quite happy to take the blame, shall we say?
Well, CERN might just be just like NASA. It's just a big black account where all the money flows into. They really don't do anything, but they're performing these rituals over there. They're doing their sacrifices, and all that energy, like you talk about, Logan, all the energy goes right to it, because we are co-creators. We talk about stuff, we give it our energy, and then we give it reality. So
yeah,
I agree. I just think that they're happy to be blamed, should we say, or that they're happy to take the credit. But there's so many. I mean, Brian. I mentioned Brian Staveley a few times, and he's probably the king on YouTube or on social media when it comes to the Mandela effect. I mean, he talks about biblical quotes, and I mean, Harry, how old's your Bible?
The one that
the Greek one.
That one's got to be 30 plus years old.
He's got a Bible, Logan, a Greek Bible, and
it's called a concordant Greek text. From page 1 to the very end, there's no spaces, no not even gaps between words. It's all capital letters. So it's kind of like the pig. What is it called? The pig
Dog
Latin.
Dog Latin.
Dog Latin. All caps.
Latin. Yeah.
So and there's no space between the words either.
But I mean, I think the most famous one that I can think of, and I checked this, and it has actually changed in the original Hebrew, is the Lion and the Lamb. Right. It's now the wolf shall lay down with the lamb. But most people are familiar with when two or more are gathered in my name. Well, even in Harry's Greek Bible, it's 2 or 3.
Yep.
It's changed to when 2 or 3 or are gathered in my name, and it was always when 2 or more. Right. So there are, certain unexplainable. My parents have got this beautiful Bible. I think my sister's got it now. It's got like a metal clasp on it, and it's all illustrated in gold leaf. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's really, really old. It was my grandparents that gave it to my mum. My mum gave it to my sister, and it's changed in that. It says the wolf shall lay down with the lamb. You know what I mean? So it's incredible, and now I don't think CERN is should be given the credit for that. It's just my opinion, but I don't think they should be given the credit for that. And my nose is itching again, and I don't know why, but I'm going to get accused of. Well, it doesn't matter. You mentioned the words. They mentioned the number 33. I mean, you talk about this a lot, Logan. How people, because the number, a certain number, is used by a certain group of people, then it must be evil. I mean, and again, you've talked at length about the 32, 33 is the ice becoming water, or the water becoming ice. It's the melting point of water, nothing else. It's the energy. It's the energy that we give, that people give to these numbers, that gives them that negative or positive. I mean, is 11 a bad number. I mean, 11's followed me all my life. It's insane. And when I did your guys, if you haven't gone to Logan's channel and done how to decode yourself, you're missing out big time. I've only gone through half of it. I mean, I've listened to all of it, but I've only done about half of the stuff that you recommend. I haven't done my totem pole and I haven't done my animals, but everything else. And I'm like, that's enough. I know that our lives are scripted just by going as far as I've gone with your how to decode yourself. It's probably the most powerful video that you have, in my opinion. That I know you've done some awesome breakdowns, but that's, for me personally, that's probably the most powerful one that you've ever done. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm speaking the truth.
I appreciate
Absolutely
the love
insane.
and support. Yeah. Well, I have another one coming out. Probably my goal is January, where I'm coming out with how to decode yourself. I don't know if I'm going to name it part 2 but it's going to be where I have my system called life coding. And this system is where you can create your own blueprint. It's going to be you're going to design your own blueprint from scratch. And when you finish with that blueprint, if you hand it to somebody like, Harry, read my blueprint, everything in that report is going to be 100% accurate. There will be nothing in there that will not describe you to a T. So it will be the most advanced system, I think, on the planet. And it's going to work a lot for couples, because if you do a report for somebody and you hand it to them like, this is who I am, don't try to change me. And then, you just swap. It's obviously there's a lot of benefits. And I think we're coming into this new, whatever reality we're moving into, part of the Mandela effect. It's I know thyself. You got to know who the hell you are in this reality. Otherwise, you're going to be lost in the crowd. And you don't want that to happen. You want to stand out in the crowd. As Bob Proctor said, one of my mentors, most people are just extras in somebody else's movie. They're not even the star in their own movie. And that's really sad, really. I don't really care, because it's not their movie's their movie. I'm interested in mine. That's egotistical, but no one wakes up in my shoes. Nobody wakes up in your shoes, Nigel. Nobody wakes up in your shoes, Harry. We all do it. It's a solo journey. And even the decoding we're doing, it's a solo journey. I go through all the social media platforms. I'm looking through them. I'm seeing all these great decoders. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff they're putting out there, because what they're doing is they're just connecting words to numbers. And there are so many words that connect to the same freaking numbers, right? So we know that that's not the way to decode. That's the way to start. That's how I started decoding. I started with, I really started with the septenary system. I was a huge Marty Leeds follower in the very beginning when I started decoding, and then I got started, Zach Hubbard. I don't agree with what he says, but he was instrumental in the reason why I got involved with decoding the mainstream news and sports. And then I realized that our reality is scripted, not by man. And I was like, that's not the truth. So I'm going to depart from that. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And, there's a lot of great decoders out there, guys, other than, what we're doing, people that probably have not even been heard of yet that are, and so I love hearing from people that have great layers of decoding to them that are just beyond just, the 33. Because mosquito equals, I do this thing now, the sneaky Masons. The word universe equals 33. I guess they created more than just Washington, D.C., those sneaky Masons. The word mosquito equals 33. Does that mean the Masons made the freaking mosquito? Those pesky mosquitoes? Must be those sneaky Masons. They wanted to mock you and screw you and piss you off. So let's make a mosquito and just annoy people. And we'll be the Masons. And that's why I got the brick wall here. I do it now because I'm trying to mock you. That's what people, it's retarded. But now whatever. It's, you guys know how I roll.
You said something about being selfish. It's not about being selfish. You know what? If you're not selfish, you will not breathe. You will not eat. You got to take care of yourself first. Okay.
Yeah.
Even in an airplane, when the oxygen mask drops, you put the mask on you, and then you can help others. It's about the intent, Nigel, right? You said it. It's not the 33.
Yeah.
It's not the 11. It's none of those.
No.
It's whatever you put as intent behind whatever tool you're going to use. You're going to use a knife. Are you going to use that knife to kill someone? Or a surgeon uses a knife to operate and save that person? So
I remember shortly after 2001, if you took a flight and had had a meal, they would give you a plastic knife and a metal fork because you can't stab anyone with a fork. You know, it's absolutely insane. But yeah, it is all about intention. And like you say, Logan, does that mean anybody who lives in a house made of brick is a mason? Because you've got a brick wall behind you, right? So you must be a mason. I was going to say common sense. Common sense ain't so common anymore. But the mentality of people, you know, I scratch my nose because I've got a fucking itch and it won't go away. Oh, you touch your nose, so you must be a, you know, or you did this, you know, yeah, okay. You know, you ask my kids in school, what's the okay sign? And they'll do that. They've got no idea in China. Nobody knows anything about the Bible. They got no idea that oh, that means 666. What's 666? Well, 666 in China, the number
It's a
6
really
is
good number.
lucky. Is a lucky number, and the same as number 8 is a lucky number, right? They very, very seldom use the number 9, right? You know, like when I go past a primary school, and the kids will be doing the, you know, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. They finish at 8. They don't go to 9, and when they go 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 3 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, they never go to 9. Don't know why, but you know, they have their, it'll be something to do with the culture. It'll be something embedded with luck or bad luck or whatever. But like Harry's just said, it's all to do with what you focus your energy on. And I don't think that what you just said, Logan, is egotistical. I mean, you know, many people, and you're a great teacher for this. When you get up in the morning, thank your bed for giving you a good night's sleep. When you go and take a shower, thank the shower for, you know, for doing its job. When you go and have breakfast or have something to eat, thank the food for nourishing you. I don't think that's egotistical at all. I don't think that's selfish at all. I think it's quite the opposite of being egotistical. You know, we do things for ourselves because nobody else is going to do it for us. Right. You know, I live alone. You live alone. If I don't clean my floor, who's going to clean my floor? No one. If I don't go and cook something to eat, who's going to cook something to eat? Yeah. So, no, I don't think that's egotistical at all.
Yeah. Well, I just think people are, again, I mean, you know, as Harry, we were talking about it before Nigel got on, about the persecution that you get when you start to put out content as a content creator. You start to get people that rip into you. And I mean, I got a guy right now, I'm out to expose you. Okay, well, do what you got to do, man. I'm just going to take your energy and transmute it, you rookie. You know, all these rookies thinking they're going to come on and do anything to what I'm doing is complete stupidity, you know, because they don't obviously know how magic works. And, you know, what's really fascinating about the whole Mason kind of thing, you know, if people really knew what the word means builder. And that's exactly what each and every one of us are. We are really Masons. We're builders. We build things. You're constantly building your life. So, you know, the brick, of course, I mean, is where people say, oh, the Pink Floyd was Masons because, you know, you have Nick Mason, the bassist, whatever. He's a Mason. Because then I was like, I posed the question. I'm like, do you know the guy? Do you have dinner with the dude? If you sit down, are you best friends with them? People just assume things. It's insane. And we all do. We're all guilty of it, all of us. So I'm not saying that I'm immune to what I'm saying. I can be authentic and say to all of my audience and to all of your subscribers and Jordan's. I make mistakes. I do the same things that I'm talking about. I laugh at myself because we are inauthentic human beings trying to be authentic, and it's a freaking joke. It's an absolute joke. We're trying to be these good people, and we're not. We're not good people. We're bad people. We all do all the things that we don't want to do, and we're wired that way, you know? And it comes down to really two different things in this reality. It's good cop and bad cop. That's it. That's kind of the bread and butter of this reality.
We can say 1,000 great things, and one thing we say, now we're vilified. You know, I went back and looked at a video from 6 months ago, and the guy that's terrorizing me now was a great sub back then. You know, we were going back and forth, and now I'm the villain. But you know, that's what comes with the territory.
It comes with it.
Yeah, there's a couple of words that you just mentioned then, Logan. I mean, we all know the old cliche that the word assume makes an ass out of you and me, right? But look at the word Mason. it's mother and son, Ma, M-A, Ma, and son. Now, again, the guy I was talking about earlier, Mike from Sherlock's Apprentice, probably about a year ago now, he emailed me some old Masonic, like, like they have these monthly, not a magazine, but a monthly newsletter, right? These were dated 1600 and some odd. And for the most part, they were boring as batshit. They were all about, Logan, Jason, he's now been admitted to lodge number 3, and he's paid his dues, and this guy paid, and it's all boring. But you'd read the occasional article, and these guys were benevolent. Like one of their brothers died, and his wife didn't have the funds to pay for the funeral, so the lodge basically said, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it. They took care. Somebody would go around to the house periodically while she was going through her grieving process, and do you need anything, go and bring us some fruit or some meat or some flowers or whatever. So I think it was from the impression that I got from these monthly newsletters, that it was originally a very benevolent organization. But as with everything in this realm, it got infiltrated, it got subverted, it got taken over. So if you're a Freemason, doesn't mean that you're somehow evil or you're a bad guy. But it's certainly evident. And this is the reason why Mike sent me this stuff. He's like, no, have a look at this. You know what I mean? He's like, because that's the impression that he was getting, is that it was pretty much benevolent. But they kind of dated like 400 years ago. But again, it makes perfect sense. They've been infiltrated, the same as everything.
Yeah, you said it. You nailed exactly what I was going to tell you. If you wanted to destroy a group, you didn't do it from the outside, like throwing bombs or shooting at it. You infiltrate it from the inside, and you deteriorate it from the core, and that's what probably happened.
I don't know how people can't see this, and how, if you just study nature, if you just take the human body, when we come out of this womb, if you're born, like a naturalized person where there's no blemishes, everything's working correctly, you're pure, the baby's pure, everything works correctly, everything's functioning properly. Just like a brand new car, you drive it off the lot, you're not worried about the car breaking down, it has no miles on it, you feel comfortable in the car. And then what does time do? Time is Satan, it's the devil, it decays things. So over time, it decays, and everything in this reality, like I was just having a conversation with my dad today. He's been in politics his whole life. He was big into politics, and he was telling me, he's like, when the government was created in the United States in 1776, it was built on honesty, integrity, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, because it was in its baby stage. So of course there was no infiltration there, right? But then over time, it's been infiltrated, just like all empires do. That's what time does. It infiltrates, it decays the body, and that's exactly. And then that has an influence as well. But let's keep it real here. Yeah, when you study the Masonic aspect, if it wasn't for that group, that we wouldn't have a lot of the secrets that we have, because they've been leaked out, they've been exposed. People that are in the lodges, and like, I can honestly tell all the listeners out there, I've been to one lodge in my life. I was interested. I was living in Las Vegas in 2018, I think, is when I went to the lodge in Las Vegas, the oldest one. I went there, I met the guys there, they were cool, whatever. I just didn't gel with it, so I never went back, right? That was the only time I ever walked in there. I went to go see their checkerboard floor and where they do their rituals, and I thought to myself, can I see myself coming here and doing that? And I said no, because I don't know what they're doing. So I'm like, I don't want to get involved in anything, I don't know what's going on. Not saying that they're doing anything kind of fishy, but I was like, I'm not going to get involved and do something I don't really know what's going on. So I just said, no, I'm not going to join the lodge, and that was the end of it. And they didn't pressure me, they didn't try to hound me on the phone, and they were totally cool. There's regular dudes that you play cards with, or you have a couple beers with on the porch. I mean, that's exactly what it's all about. And they tell you straight up, like, and I was talking to them about stuff, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. And so it was just really cool conversations. But, this whole stupidity of like, it's Masonic, and it's just this retardedness that people have. They're just so quick to point the finger. And it's like, what are you doing? You're judging. You're just a judger. You're no worse than the people people that you are judging, the people that you don't like and despise, you're in the same category as them because you're sitting there pointing the finger saying it's this group and it's that group and they're the ones to blame. All the while, your life completely sucks. You hate your life, so you have to go out there. And I was one of them. I was one of the guys that would go out there and point the finger, and try to blame them. And that's it's just all whispered down the lane. It starts with, the God, so to speak. And I personally think that it needs a scapegoat because it doesn't want to look bad, just like we don't want to look bad. We're made in the image and likeness. So I think the God is the same exact thing. It could be the demiurge. Yeah, the demiurge that runs this reality may not actually be the source that everything comes from and emanates from. So there are different layers to this,
I don't think it is. But what you just reminded me of there, Logan. We've all been married. We've all been, young. And what happens when you've got a group of people, group of guys? I'll catch you Friday, right? We're all going, 10 of us. We're all going out for a lads' night out down the pub. See you later, darling. Well, when I moved to Australia, we met a lot of expats. We made a lot of friends, and one of them came up with this really, really awesome idea. There's an area of Perth called Northbridge, and it's predominantly bars, cafes. It's a really, really nice place to go. So Paul came up with this idea and he said, look, what we're going to do, we're going out, all of us, we're going out Friday night or Saturday night with the girls. And we're all going to go to Northbridge. We go there together. You go there with your wife. We all meet up in a pub. And then all the girls go off and do their own thing around which bar or whatever they want to go in. And the guys do the same thing. Only one rule, right? Let's say we start here at 8 o'clock and we'll meet back here at midnight. The only rule we had was that if the guys walked into a bar and the girls were there, we went to another bar. And if the girls came into the bar that we were in, they went to another bar. So what actually ended up was it became a monthly thing. It was absolutely brilliant. So all the guys got together and had their little, like you were just talking about the Masons, their little group, their little brotherhood. They could go out and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, and the girls had their night out as well. And then you went back home. You went there with your wife, and you got in a cab or whatever, and you went home with your wife. And it's one of the best and simplest ideas that I've ever heard or seen anybody come up with for socializing. But what you had with what you've just been talking about with the Masons, it's a boys thing, right? It's a guys thing. So, I'm off to a lodge meeting with the guys. I will see you in 4 hours' time. You sit home and watch TV or whatever. But doing what we did, we had and it was nothing to do with Masonic. It was just the guys getting together and the girls getting together at the same time. So everybody had a really good night out. But you weren't in the position where I'm going out with the lads tonight, darling. I'll see you later. You know what I mean? It worked out pretty good. And I think the original Masonic Brotherhood, I think it was kind of intended to be along those lines, where it was just a group of guys getting together to share ideas, and you come and paint my house and I'll go and build you that garden wall kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, again, it just study nature, and it runs in cycles and everything gets infiltrated. So yeah, we're in the dark age, people, ladies and gentlemen. So what the hell you think's going to happen now? You're going to get everybody accusing everybody. There's massive division. There's the loony bin on the world stage. Things are not what they seem. There is all this craziness going on, and you gotta live life like right now. But I think the people that are coming to their senses, the people that are decoding and not pointing the fingers, living a life of neutrality, are realizing that's the way to go, because I certainly don't want to be the one to judge. I mean, we're just programmed that way to instantly just judge people like, oh, they're not doing it right. And you don't have to say a damn thing. You can just think it in your mind. And that's the same thing. It's a precursor to speak in the spells, and those thoughts, they go places, thoughts are things. James Allen. So, there is these layers that people don't take into consideration with the whole aspect of magic and how magic works on the world stage. So,
yeah, and like you said, it's we're in the dark ages now, soon to be back into the light side. It's like a pendulum. It's like a pendulum. It's going to swing one way and eventually it swings back. With the energy that it's swinging to the dark, it's going to rebound just as strong for those who are awake. Yeah, I don't like to use that word, but aware of what's going on and turned on. And we're going to reap those benefits and that much sooner because we're already waiting for it. So,
Yeah.
Well, don't forget that aware is something that is sold.
Yep.
At where, you know, at wake is a funeral party. So all these words that have double meanings or more than one meaning. I mean, Logan, you mentioned universe, you know, and in gematria. Well, you know, you've only got to switch the S and the V, and you get serve from the same. So uni one, serve one. Who is the one? Is that you? Is that your higher self? Is that source, or is it humanity? You know what I mean? Serve one. If you put universe or serve uni, you're going to get exactly the same results in gematria because it's the same letters, you know.
Yeah.
But serve and verse are anagrams of each other, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as I mentioned to you guys earlier, I'm working on my Prison Planet 3 decode, and it's heavily embedded with Uranus, the planet Uranus, which is we're told it's the seventh planet. And you know, if you just study the pH scale, 7 is the number that is the number of balance, homeostasis, which is where you want to be. That's neutrality, and that's the crown. And it's the color green, of course, because it's one of the dominant colors on the world stage. But this Uranus is the seventh planet, and I believe the planets are the chakras of the cosmos, and the anthropomorphic cosmos itself is just kind of all components coming together and playing out its script down here in man. So we all have these planets inside of us. They're called chakras. And the crown chakra, Uranus, seems to be the one that kind of holds it all together, tied to the Sabbath day. Uranus is the father of Saturn, the great grandfather of Zeus. And there are a lot of people that think Zeus or Jupiter is the architect of this reality, which Jupiter would be number 5, which is the throat. And that's, you know, God said, let there be light, speaking the creation itself into creation using the words. So it's very possible you have all these aspects coming into play, but you know, these are all theoretical layers that even the secret societies could never prove, you know. So it just really comes down to an opinion on what it is that you and I want to believe.
Yeah, you mentioned the pH 7, right? That's where you want to be homeostasis. But what about pH 1? That's the phone, right? pH, potential hydrogen.
Potential hydrogen.
If your potential hydrogen is 1, what are you? You're dead, right? You're dead at pH 1, and that's what the iPhone wants. You know, the iPhone is potential.
Yeah.
Is the potential.
But your pH 1 is also 5, which is the 1.61, which adds up to 8, which connects back to the ink reincarnation. And it's funny you mentioned that about that green. I mean, you know, I remember when I was a kid, tennis balls were white. Now you mentioned again in your podcast yesterday about them changing to green. And if you look on the screen, when as each person speaks, we get the border around our camera, and it's the color of a tennis ball.
Very good observation.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the Limelight, right? And I just played that Limelight by Rush, showing you how they're being used. And I mean, if you think that actually they're sitting down and they're trying to mock you and pull the wool over your eyes, which trying to make the song line up to these numbers, I think you need to be checking yourself in somewhere, because it's just ridiculous thinking. So, you know, the Limelight is us. We're the light being slowed down. Human is HUE and MA. And it's pretty simple when you really look at these layers.
Which was that group that that band that you were talking about in a recent podcast? I forget who it was, where you actually broke down the band members and
Living Colour.
their birthday, Living Colour, and the band members, the connections that they got with their birth cards and their birth dates and so on and so forth. And it was just like, this is impossible for it to be organic, or for it to be you know, let's oh yeah, I'm going to have that guy because he was born on such and such. You know, it's like when I played in a band, it was all about your ability to be able to sing or play guitar or drums or whatever. So for this to be just coincidence, or you know, as you've spelled out and you've shown, beyond any shadow of a doubt, it's all scripted. We are playing out our role. We're playing our part.
Well, the word scrip starts with the letter S, which is tied to the word sun, and it's the 19th letter, which is the battery. So, you know, there's no way around this, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to be on board with what I'm saying, Harry and Nigel and you know, Jordan and Waters, any of these great decoders, you know, Ethan Rucker, like I can name John Petrie, some of these guys, you know, I don't even talk to some of these people. There's a lot of great decoders out there that are throwing out the same kind of results. And we're all coming back to the same correlations. And that is there's no possible way mankind could ever code this. Sure, I can definitely choose a date on the calendar when I know, like, oh, I want to choose that date. But you can't choose the day you were born. You can't choose, you know, you can't go back and change the name your parents gave you. It's, if you got a birth certificate, it's on there. You know, you can't go and try to change your last name. You can do it, but you still have it. It's still embedded into the Akashic records, which, you know, that Akashic records is Akasa, comes from the word Akasa, which is the number 41, which is tied to the element niobium, which has an atomic weight of 92, and 92 is tied to uranium. Uranium's little sister or little devil is niobium, which is the 41st element, and that is tied to the Akasa records. 41 is the mirror of the 14, which is pi, and in the medicine cards, it's the freaking dog card, because that's exactly what we all are, ladies and gentlemen. We're all little pets down here being experimented on. We're little mice. Even the mouse card is the number 20. This is the 20th card in the deck, tied to Mason, tied to the word free. And this is the defending what matters. So your little ego right now, a little voice in your head that's talking, is going to do whatever it takes to defend what it is that you've come to believe to be as your truth. That's exactly what everybody should be doing, is, you know, it's your truth. That's why I said it. Just it's all about what you want to believe.
Well, it's no coincidence that priests wear a dog collar and soldiers wear a dog tag. You know what I mean? It's right there in plain sight. But people just don't see it. I was going to say something, I forgot. But yeah, we're all playing a role. Oh, that's it. The word role, R-O-L-E. If you change it around, you get L-O-R-E, law, right? As in folk law. And it's no coincidence that L-O-R-E and L-A-W are phonetically the same, because you have man's law and you have nature's law, which is L-O-R-E, which is an anagram of R-O-L-E, which is, you know, we're all here playing a role. You know, we all have our script and we're in a movie. You know,
we're definitely.
If you're, you know, I was talking to someone the other day. You're an actor in a movie, right? And you're being filmed. You're standing at this end of the room, and at the other end of the room, there's a door, right? And you've got to walk from there to there. You've got to walk out the door. Lights, camera, action. Now, when you walk from that point to the door, do you have to walk in a straight line? No. You could walk, you could go in any direction you wanted to, because you've only got to get from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand when we talk about our lives being scripted. A lot of people talk about free will. Well, you know, if you're a horse in a field, and in the middle of that field there's a tree, and you are tied to that tree, but the rope is long enough for you to go to every extremity of that field, no matter how big it is, that's our free will, in my opinion. The rope isn't long enough for you to get out of the field, but you don't need to get out of the field. You don't want to get out of the field. You're happy in the field because you can go anywhere within that field. So that's how and I know Harry agrees with me because we spoke about this. That's how we see our free will. We think we've got free will because, you know, I can say, right, hang on, guys, I'm going to go and grab a coffee, or I'm going to pop the bathroom or whatever, because that's my free will. But when it comes to being where we are, I mean, I've been in China for 7 years because it's part of my script, and the seeds were planted. Why don't you come to China and teach English back in 2008, 2009, 2010? And I never even thought, because I had my own business. I was importing products from China for many people, many clients, builders. We were importing ceramic tiles, windows, double glazed windows, showers, bathrooms, anything that they wanted. So I would regularly come to China. At one point, I was coming here every month on business to go and visit a factory or go and get some samples for a client. And the amount of people that said to me, you should come here to teach English. And I'm like, why would I want to do that? And then when my marriage fell apart in 2013, and you know what happens, guys, we've both been there. We, you know, you pretty much lose everything. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? And I'm like, well, why don't I go to China and teach English? Because the seeds had already been planted, because that's what I was supposed to do. That was part of my script. And I get loads of people that will argue with me about that. But when you sit and talk about your own personal journey, it's personal to you. And I've got enough info going back to my childhood between then and where I am now, even though my journey of awakening has only been 5 years. But you know, I've probably done more research than people have been awake for 20 years. And I can see it all come together. That's why when I did your How to Decode Yourself, it blew my mind, because everything that I already knew all came together within your How to Decode Yourself. So I can, you know, for me personally, I think I've got enough evidence to show that my life is scripted, and if my life is scripted, then yours is scripted too. You know, you're born in America, now you're in Mexico. Why? Because that's where you're supposed to be as part of your script.
Yeah, I mean, I was just revisiting, like, the first place I came to in Mexico was a town called San Miguel de Allende, which is in the central part of Mexico. I had a friend that is part-time residency there. I had never been there. And she's like, hey, I have a casita. If you want to rent it, fully furnished, you should come to Mexico. And I was like, you know, I was kind of like, had that space to do it, kind of like your story, Nigel. And I went there. And as I started to live there, I started to see the reasons. This building was built before I was even born. It was built in like the 1930s, 1940s. But as I started to move through my life through the 6 months there, I started to see the symbols. And now that I'm decoding Prison Planet 3, and a large part of it is incorporating the planet Uranus, which is the horseshoe. What was over the doorway in San Miguel de Allende that I lived at? A freaking horseshoe, right? I didn't know what that meant when I first moved in there. But now that I started decoding Uranus, that is the very reason. And what triggered me to start studying Uranus was 3 weeks ago, I had renewed my gym membership here in Puerto Morelos, and they gave me a new gym membership. I was like, why are you changing my gym membership? And I know the number is going to tell me something. And of course, it was the number 1125, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I started decoding Uranus from many different other layers. And of course, the word father equals 25, which is tied to the crown, and that's Uranus. But there's so many more layers than that. But you know, all these things, if you're willing to pay attention to your code, folks, if you're willing to pay attention to your life, you're going to see the script in your life. Not just because don't take my word for it. Don't listen to what Harry and Nigel are saying. Don't listen to these other great decoders. Start to break down your life, start to look at it, and start to like, what's your high school mascot? You know, like mine's the tiger, you know, and why? And so I can show you if I showed you but it's endless, you know, it's endless of, you know, it's completely endless.
That apartment with the horseshoe, was that the apartment that had the spiral staircase?
No, that was the one here that I moved to. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was the first one that I moved to. I'm not in that one anymore, but that one was tied to the golden ratio. That's how I found the golden ratio, because it was the Fibonacci, the golden ratio spiral, which I was there, and I put 2 and 2 together. And of course, when you start to move into when you start to move into places, they deliver the energy to you to tap into that code. So when I moved to that place on the 3rd floor with the Fibonacci spiral, I tapped into the golden ratio. And that's how I was able to come out with that decode, because I was tapped into the code. So I got this gym membership, 1125. The 25 attaches to you, attached to me. And now I'm able to I found this Uranus connection. That's what the code does. It taps into you, not you tapping into it. It taps into you, and then it delivers the energy. You're shown the symbols and signs. The more you're willing to let go, it's like, I just let go and I let the code control me. I'm totally cool with that because I know it's running me. No problem. No problem.
Yeah. I think you have to get to you have to reach that point where you've got to sort of let go and just realize that you are where you're supposed to be. And again, when you get to a certain age and you can look back about why I did this and why I did that and what happened there and you start looking at the day that you got married, divorced, the day that or the date that your kids were born, and so on and so forth. You can go as deep as you want to go, and it's all going to be there. All of it. It's all going to be there. It certainly was for me, and I cannot recommend how to decode yourself enough. And we've been going quite a while. We could keep talking forever, but a couple of things that I want to mention, and Harry and I have mentioned this before. There's a couple of movies. One's called Free Guy. If you haven't watched Free Guy, you must watch Free Guy. They're telling you in that movie, they're telling you that we live in a copy. Oh, I was watching David Icke the other day. I do, he does talk a lot of sense. A lot of what he talks about resonates with me. I mean, he still thinks we live on a spinning ball, but that's his choice. But even he said in an interview the other day that we live in a copied realm, and I nearly fell off my chair, bro. I'm like, whoa. Harry and I started talking about this back in May. Then in August, on August the 11th, 811, Free Guy comes out. 118, telling you in that movie that we live in a not only a simulation, but we live in a copy of the original realm. And then what was that other movie, Harry?
Sausage Party. Sausage Party.
Oh my God.
Dirty movie.
Have you watched it, Logan?
I've watched bits and I haven't fully watched the entire movie. I should probably watch it.
You've got to watch the movie.
It's loaded with truth drops.
Oh my word!
I mean, these guys, they're not the ones that create this content. They obviously are handed this by others, and then of course it's already scripted. So it's not like these guys are intellectuals that can put this stuff down. But like you said earlier, with the songs and all these great songs that are written, these people are given these songs. They're not writers themselves, and then of course it's already scripted. So
yeah, well, you guys, get people.
We talked about the time we've been on. I got some kids. I gotta get ready for bed for tomorrow's Monday. They're gonna go to school, so I'm gonna have to check out on this one.
Well, let's just check out. Let's all of us check out. We've been on for long enough, so.
Yeah, links will be below, guys. I will send the links over to Logan. So if he puts this up on his channel, it will be there. And thank you for joining us, my friend.
Yeah, it's been an honor and pleasure, man. No, you guys are great, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
We get a lot of great positive comments whenever we have guests like you on. So it's our pleasure as well.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So I'll just stop recording and we'll keep chatting. So cheers, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys on the next one.
Take care.